We move to the next news video, and it is an update on everything not WWE outside of Drew McIntyre, so let's get to that first. As Drew McIntyre blacked out his social media, specifically his Twitter over the weekend, removing any mention of WWE from his Twitter. Like, if you looked at it now, it looks like his account is, it looks like he kind of deleted his account. But the fact of the matter is, there is no indication of what happened or why he did it. And now the rumor is that his contract with WWE is not up until 2024. So it is the possibility that WWE is trying to negotiate with one of their top stars, and get the contract out of the way sooner rather than later. But the fact of the matter is, right now the report is still that WWE is still far apart with with Drew McIntyre on money and the negotiation process. But with that being said, McIntyre is not in a position where McIntyre is in a position where if he wanted to walk, if WWE did not give him the proper amount of money, or what he believes to be the proper amount of money, then I think he would be in that position where if he wanted to walk, he could walk. Simple as that. Because if there's anybody that kept WWE on solid ground during the pandemic, it was Drew McIntyre. McIntyre carried the company on his back for the better part of the entire pandemic, and was one of the only people that stepped up during the pandemic and deserves a lot of praise for the work he did during the pandemic. With that being said, I think this is something that we're going to watch as much as the contract negotiation for AEW talent, that being the Elite, and of course, the bidding war of 2024 with Maxwell Jacob Friedman. But an interesting note in a recent video that I watched from Cultaholic, where I think it was kind of suggested that because of the media rights deal with AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery, that either Warner Brothers Discovery may have been one of the people that suggested AEW bring back CM Punk, or AEW may be looking to bring back Punk to AEW because of the media rights deal. Like, basically, they think that bringing Punk back would give them momentum and give them leeway to negotiate with Warner Brothers Discovery, because much like WWE's contract being up, AEW's contract is up with Warner Brothers as well. Now, is it possible that they may move off TBS and TNT? Yes, it is entirely possible that they could move off those networks. But is it likely? I mean, with the fact that AEW Collision is now officially premiering in June, I believe June 27th is the premiere episode of AEW Collision. It is a 2-hour wrestling broadcast. I think it is looking more and more likely that AEW and TBS and TNT will remain the home of AEW, but until we get the new media rights deal for AEW, I don't think that we can issue anything as guarantees. You know what I mean? But it would make sense if AEW and Warner Brothers, because apparently Warner Brothers was told that Punk was coming back, so it could in fact have something to do with that. Punk's return could have something to do with that. But also, it's like I said with Jim Ross's mention, or with Jim Ross's conversation, that AEW, as long as Punk was under contract with AEW, there was always a possibility that Punk would come back. And that Punk coming back would help. So there's something there. But I think that AEW bringing Punk back to help with the media rights deal and to give them a little bit more momentum with the media rights deal would be a smart decision. It would be a smart decision, because Punk would help AEW in that regard. as far as Punk's first return feud, it does seem like it could be possible based on Jericho's actions on Twitter that Chris Jericho could be Punk's first feud when he returns to the company. Because Jericho called out Chicago, and there was rumors a couple of days ago that Punk could be returning in Chicago in at the end of June, or in June, which ironically enough, I don't know for certain because it wasn't confirmed by any of the normal outlets for confirmation. But if in fact AEW Collision is premiering in June, and there is a likelihood that Punk could be returning in Chicago, is there a possibility that Punk could be returning in Chicago for the first edition of AEW Collision? I mean, is it a possibility? I would say it is a possibility. Is it confirmed? Not at all. Not at all. But you never know. Because if there's one thing that we've learned about this situation with CM Punk and AEW, is that you just never know. But now we shift over to another thing, another conversation that has to do with AEW, and that is Forbidden Door 2 and the ever-present possibility of Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega at Forbidden Door 2, with Ospreay being cleared. With Ospreay being cleared now, it is a possibility that we could see Ospreay versus Kenny Omega. Ospreay's first match cleared, in my opinion, or to my knowledge, I should say. His first match cleared will be against... will be in 1PW in England, and will be against Bobby Fish. Ospreay's been out on the shelf with a shoulder injury for the past couple of months. The injury was severe enough that it took him out of WrestleMania weekend and the Multiverse United, which was the joint show with Impact Wrestling, where he was set to face Mike Bailey. But with that being said, now it is a question: will Ospreay face Kenny at Forbidden Door 2 in June? I mean, it's looking more and more possible like it could happen. Speaking of upcoming matchups, Mercedes Moné made her Stardom debut as IWGP Women's Champion, attacking Miwa Iwatani at the recent Stardom event, setting up the match between Iwatani and Moné for the IWGP Women's Championship. And there are rumors that this could be one of the last appearances for Moné in New Japan or in Japan, as she signed a short-term deal with the Japanese promotions to work and help develop the the women's division. But I do think it is more possible or more likely that Mercedes could remain with the Japanese promotions for the foreseeable future. Because, I don't know why they wouldn't re-sign her, as she is she is more than an asset to them. She is somebody that helps build credibility and a reputation for the women's division, as she is a proven commodity in women's wrestling on a national scale, or a worldwide scale, I should say. She is a proven commodity on a worldwide scale, and somebody that New Japan should take advantage of having in their arsenal as far as an asset to the promotion. And unless she plans on going to WWE or AEW, I would say that it is something that, honestly, there is no reason why New Japan should not be able to re-sign her. Unless she wants to come back to America, I don't understand why New Japan would not be able to re-sign her. But now we shift gears over to Impact Wrestling and over to updates from last night's pay-per-view event, that being Impact Rebellion. Impact Wrestling Rebellion. And the update is that we have new Knockouts Champion and a new Impact Wrestling World Champion. And the Impact Wrestling World Champion is former WWE developmental talent Steve Maclin. Again, if you don't know, Steve Maclin actually competed with or teamed up with Wesley Blake, and again, I still can't remember who Gunner was in WWE. You know, that boring guy who was associated with Elias. But either way, props to Steve Maclin. Congratulations to the new Impact Wrestling World Champion. And also congratulations to the new Impact Wrestling Knockouts Champion, the Virtuoso. In the Virtuoso, Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo starts her third reign as Knockouts Champion, and Steve Maclin immediately kickstarted his first feud as World Champion against Impact Wrestling's newest signing, and a coup for that company as they signed the man who helped solidify the NWA. The man who took more pride in holding Sweet Charlotte, the 10 pounds of gold, than anyone in this generation. That is Nick Aldis. As Nick Aldis is officially returned to Impact Wrestling, and he came to the aid of Scott D'Amore at the end of the Impact Wrestling World title match to confront the current world champion Steve Maclin. And now that means that Nick Aldis has not only returned, but he also declared during commentary that he is re-signed with Impact Wrestling, and we now know that more than likely Nick will be Maclin's first feud as world champion. With that being said, though, that is it for the news, and I will see you in the next video.